Take it away, JBL.
Okay, this is the P&Z Subcommittee Regs Update Review, January 12th, 2026 at 7 o'clock p.m. on Zoom. It's a Zoom meeting. So uh, I'll be turning it over to you in a second. Tonight, let's get through this. Let's work everything out. I would like to see us to get this done as much as we can tonight, depending on how things go. And then we can deal with the other issue later down the road. I think, Tara, that's the other issue I thought, I don't know if we were going to talk about it, has to do with the cannabis. You can give us an idea on that later, but you figured what, an hour or so, we could probably see if this is going to go one way or the other. So,
Yeah, so I gave you the full 2 hours because I always do. I do not think you will need 2 hours.
right.
In terms of the cannabis, because you guys chose to separate it out,
Yep.
that is being considered separately at your January meeting, just the language of extending the moratorium. So we're not going to
Okay.
be talking about that here at all tonight.
Okay. That's why I'm just bringing it up so we'll know what's going on. All right. You have it. I'll turn it over to you now, and everybody, let's all do our thing tonight.
Okay, so just for the sake of the minutes, I'm just going to read out who I see on my screen as being present. John Bilenki is here as chair, Vice Chair Dave Poplawski, Secretary Ryan Conoyer. Of the regular membership, Brian Santos, Dan Bennett, Jane Salsi, Ray Williams, and welcome for the first time to Steve Nickerson, who hasn't been to any of these yet.
Thank you
Good.
very much.
So, and just for your sake, since this is the first time you're doing one of these with us, what we're going to be looking at is the discussion draft that I forwarded out. This includes the content that the commission has been discussing to date, and the goal tonight is to finalize the content that's going to be presented for acceptance for public hearing at your January meeting in a couple of weeks. And to reiterate what JBL and I were just discussing, the section on the the moratorium on cannabis microcultivators, the commission had requested a couple of months ago to consider that separately, vote on it separately. It does simplify things for you guys quite a bit. So that's why you'll be discussing and voting on that at your January meeting. You'll be discussing and voting on what we're talking about tonight at your February meeting. Got it?
Got it.
Okay. All right. So let me share my
Uh,
screen.
um, as you're doing your thing there, Tara, Mr. Santos, please. Yeah. This is do you have some, hey, at least the Patriots are doing good, right? You think they're going to make it? There were things that you said the last meeting we had, the short meeting we had last month. I think it was last month or October, November. You had a lot of other ideas on what we're going to do tonight.
I gave all those comments to Tira. I'm just assuming that, they were put into this document. I'll let Tira speak to that, but
Okay. I'm just trying to follow through on a lot of stuff.
I honestly, JBL, I didn't double check. I sent T an email with all the stuff that I had proposed.
Yeah.
So I'm just waiting for that explanation tonight.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'll be totally honest, B, because that was 2 months or more ago. I don't remember what that content was.
Yeah, I just started looking it up. It looks like it was inserted, but I'm not 100% just yet.
Yeah, so what I can tell you based on the way I usually do these things, if you sent it to me after the last meeting, I would have made the effort to incorporate it the last time I updated this draft. So, but I just don't happen to remember what those changes were that you suggested at that time.
Yep. We'll go through it. That's fine.
Yeah. So just to be, we usually do this exactly in order, but I just want to say I'm going to skip definitions for now. We're going to come back to that because I think there's some stuff in there that is dependent on choices you make elsewhere. I do not think you guys are going to need all 2 hours tonight, although obviously you are welcome to take it if you need it. With peeling out the cannabis language, that leaves you essentially with three topics to consider if you want to move them forward for acceptance for public hearing and consideration for this year's update. The earth, sand, and gravel extraction and removal changes that were suggested to try to resolve the little issue we had with some wetland stuff. The mobile food vendors. And then the only one where I think maybe you're going to want to do some more conversation, the one I think most likely in any case, is junk dealers and junkyards. So we'll take those three topics in order. And my expectation is that the bulk of the conversation, if there is going to be any, is going to be in that third section. And just as a reminder, I'll read this because it's pretty quick. So we have 275-14.3 earth, sand, and gravel extraction and removal. The following amendments were proposed for the section on exemptions. You can see on the screen, depending on how your color resolution is, 1 and 2 are exactly as currently in the draft. And then we're striking number 3. So under B exemptions, the following uses are exempt from the provisions of this section as a requirement to obtain a permit. 1, excavation, removal, filling, or grading associated with approved subdivisions, site development plans, or building permits, unless exporting of more than 1,500 cubic yards of material is proposed. And 2, excavation, removal, filling, or grading in direct connection with agricultural use. It is striking number 3, excavation, removal, filling, or grading of a total amount up to 1,500 cubic yards. And just as a reminder, the reason that's getting struck is that we discovered it was creating a little donut hole where some applicants were sort of going out, doing their excavation, maybe exceeding it, maybe even not exceeding it, but because there was no zoning permit triggered, there was no review triggered, there was some wetlands damage that was done, and it caused a lot of friction with the wetlands, understandable friction with the wetlands officer and the wetlands commission. So that being struck. So a new section to go as number C is for extraction and removal of less than 1,500 cubic yards. So no longer exempt, but having this set of provisions. 1, for a proposed earth, sand, and/or gravel extraction and/or removal of less than 1,500 cubic yards total, which does not otherwise fall under the exemptions described in 275-14.3 B 1 and 2 above, the applicant shall be required to apply for a zoning permit simple. 2, an applicant for an extraction removal of less than 1,500 cubic yards is advised that such activity may require additional approval by the wetlands officer or IWC. An applicant will be notified of any such requirement by the wetlands officer following the filing of the application for the zoning permit simple. And 3, any previously approved applicant for extraction removal of less than 1,500 cubic yards who wishes to expand the activity beyond the threshold of 1,500 cubic yards shall be subject to all the applicable requirements set forth in 275-14.3. Everybody got that?
Yep.
Are there any questions or further comments on that section? All right, hearing none, I'm going to drop a note in here that this is good to go.
Hearing nothing, Tara, means that everybody's okay with it.
Yeah, and of all of them, I think this is the least controversial because we identified the problem. This is the solution to the problem. Um, but in the spirit of the subcommittee, want to make sure that everybody has a last opportunity to weigh in.
Correct.
Uh, okay, moving on to 275-14.9, food and beverage establishments, outdoor dining, and mobile food vendors. And again, mobile food vendors is new in this year's update. You'll see it starts at letter I, and this is mostly for Steve's benefit. That's because we're not making any amendments to sections A through H. I through whatever we go to here, T
Yeah.
is all brand new content. And again, I'll read it through, and if anybody has any additional comments or wants to add, edit, amend, just shout it out as I go. So starting with letter I, individual mobile food vendors shall be permitted on private business, commercial, or mixed-use parcels in the DMRD, TCDD. Actually, I'll say them out fully again for Steve's benefit since he's new. Individual food vendors shall be permitted on private business, commercial, or mixed-use parcels in the Downtown Mill Rehabilitation District, Thompson Corridor Development District, and Business Development District under the zoning permit simple level of review. J. Individual mobile food vendors may be permitted on private business commercial parcels in the Rural Residential Agricultural District, Common Residential District, Thompson Common Village District, or Lake District under the site plan review by commission level of review. K. If the mobile food vendor is not the owner of the parcel on which the use is proposed, signed written permission from the property owner shall be required prior to approval. L. Operation of the mobile food vendor shall not commence until all applicable licenses from NDDH and/or the fire marshal have been obtained. M. Hours of operation for a mobile food vendor in the DMRD, TCDD, and BDD shall be between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. For mobile food vendors in the RRAD, CRD, TCVD, or LD, the Commission may impose further limits on hours of operation to minimize impacts on surrounding residential uses. N. Mobile food vendor applicants shall provide their proposed schedules, including days and hours of operation. O. The mobile food vendor location shall not impede traffic or affect traffic sightline visibility and shall not be located in or obstruct any handicap accessible parking spaces or fire lanes. P. The mobile food vendor vehicle/unit shall at all times have tires on the vehicle and be otherwise maintained in sufficient condition to move or remove the vehicle if necessary. Q. Mobile food vendor applicants shall maintain a clean and sanitary area at all times. Applicants shall provide a plan for trash collection and disposal. R. Applicants shall demonstrate how their operation will conform to all NDDH requirements and local regulations or ordinances regarding the use of generators, gray water, wastewater management, and disposal of used fats, oils, and grease, commonly known as FOGs. S. Mobile food vendors associated with limited duration private events on private property, for example, providing catering at a private party on a residential or commercial property, or associated with a one-time special event for the public, shall not require a zoning permit. Such uses may still be subject to inspection by the fire marshal. The burden is on the property owner to determine any such requirements. T. Mobile food vendors associated with a municipal event or participating in a municipally sponsored site for multiple vendors shall not require a zoning permit. Such vendors shall be subject to inspection by the fire marshal. And then the only other note that I dropped in here is that if you guys go ahead as proposed here, when I present the final draft to be accepted for public hearing, I'll also have a note that that'll be added to the appropriate tables of uses. Questions, comments, edits, amendments?
Tara, going back to where it says, let's see, what is it, JK? Did we check into, because I know any food vendor has to have a Connecticut license. The towns don't have that, but I know the state of Connecticut says you have to meet the requirements what the state says, for all the other stuff with the fire marshal and all of that. I know they have to have a license that's on the vehicle inside, that they are a registered vendor.
Yes, that's a good call, JBL. So that should probably be an L. All applicable licenses. We'll just go from the state of Connecticut.
Yeah, it has, yeah. Because I know some of them that go to Rhode Island and Massachusetts, they have to have those licenses as well to say that they've been, that they follow the criteria of what that state is requiring.
Actually, hold on one second. I'm going to redo that because I didn't turn on my track changes. Hold on.
Because when I was reading this last week, and that's where it popped up to me, so I figured I'd wait till tonight to bring it to your attention.
No, that's good. Dave, I see your hand up. You're on mute.
Yeah. I'm using my son's computer here. Just two things, Tara. Signage. I know that it's a little bit unique to what our sign regulations are. Should we put some sort of a sign description in there? And the other thing, kind of on the line of what JBL was just saying, I think that we require all their certifications to be displayed, so they're safe serve, and any of their certifications required by NDDH or whatever. I think we specify that they're in plain view.
Okay, I do think that's redundant to what the state's requirements are, but that might be worth being redundant for. Let's try that here. And let me know if this works for you.
Kira, while you're doing that, Dave brought up a good point about the sign. The vendors that we have that come to the Maker Faire, they always put a sign out, and it's usually, say, I think, well, it varies, but it doesn't need to be 6 feet, but it can be like 32 inches by 50 inches or 52 inches or whatever, stating, because they put a sign, they got one on the side of the machine, but a lot of times they like to put an extra one out within 5 feet, long as they're within the cones. We use cones down here, the barrels, so that separates them from the traffic, the public traffic. So, I mean, they should be allowed to, put it up so they can catch people's eye a little bit quicker. A lot of them do that. Good call, Dave.
Or not to exceed, Tara. I mean, we don't have to get crazy descriptive, but maybe not to exceed, I don't know, whatever John just said, 5 feet, 4 feet, whatever it is, just some sort of basis. I know you got covered the line of sight for parking and everything else, but I know they're gonna, they're gonna put some sort of a sign out there,
No.
Yeah.
Usually it's 3x5, something like that, Dave, because for the menu and all that other stuff. On an average, I would say 36 inches by 60 inches. Like you said, as long as it keeps that. But it wouldn't hurt to have it in there. Then nobody can P&M.
Yeah, let me just think of where that goes. And Ray and Brian, I see both your hands up. Let me just think this through on the signs for 1 second.
Yeah, my comment is on the sign.
I think maybe here. Any signage So you got to figure these are going to be temporary removable signs, right? They're not going to be
Yes.
installed with a permanent sign.
Yeah.
Any signage related to the mobile food vendor. What are the size of those? No,
Yeah,
let me try this. Let me try this a different way. Shall only be removable.
Yeah, they put a hinge at the top and then they got a piece of strap on the bottom halfway down. So when they fold it out, it looks like it looks like a pyramid, so to speak. And then they just pick it up, put it together, and they put it in. It's quick. It's quick that way.
Whoops, not sight lines like an area, sight lines like seeing. All right, let me mull on that for a second. Ray, go ahead.
Well, John pretty much just covered it with that. I always called it an A sign, that they close up. There's no reason to have them have a big sign with the, have a sign with the name on it and everything. But for a menu, that should be at the trailer itself and not being impeding the sight lines, or to have a big sign on the side of the road, especially down there where the woman wants to put this trailer. The reason why we're doing this here, if they put a too big of a sign up there, that's going to be blocking sight. But something 2.5 feet by 4 feet or something like that has the name of the thing on it. But I don't think we should be putting signs, having people put signs out, with a full menu on it, on the road.
Right. Well, so I guess the question is, does this simple sentence satisfy the concerns that we're airing? Any signage related to the mobile food vendor shall only be removable signs and shall not obstruct any traffic or sight lines.
I think that's sufficient.
Yeah, I agree, Tara. Good job.
B, you got your hand up?
Just say at the end and removed at the end of the day, business day.
Okay, I like it.
Now you're putting that under what? Oh, what's it?
So I added it as a new provision underneath the prior letter O, so it just renumbered them.
Okay.
B, did you have anything else? So your hand is still up. You just didn't put it down yet.
I didn't put it down, but I was gonna redo that sentence. I'll get right back to you. You can keep
Okay. Okay. Anybody have any other questions, comments, amendments, observations about this section, which I will say, I think you guys came to pretty good consensus previously. I think you guys did a lot of good conversation about this in whatever the last meeting was, we discussed it.
And you did capture every one of my notes and bettered them. Thank you.
Okay.
I have
It was
something
on this section, Brian?
Oh yeah, I had all the letters. Yeah, that was good.
Okay. All right. So,
there's something on here that if you scroll down a little bit to the
Yep.
T. Yep. So when I look at this is what I see when I read this over again. When I look at T, I envision a private event. So private event on private property.
correct.
So what is the most visible in the town for that, where the food trucks are? To me, it would be the Thompson Speedway. And if I look at the other on a municipal event, you're talking about multiple vendors and not requiring a zoning permit. So I guess I think it's important that we separate private versus, municipal and things that are open to the public versus things that require a ticketing. So
Right, so those
language
are
is-
separated in these two letters.
Yeah, they are
He
separate.
specifically discusses private,
Yep.
right? And says, if you're doing this as a private owner, whether it's again a one-time special event for the public, or if you have a wedding at your house and you have a food truck there, we're not going to ask you to get a zoning permit for that, but especially I would say in the case of something like the Speedway, may still be subject to inspection by the fire marshal, and it's the person who's hiring the food truck or sponsoring the food trucks who is responsible for determining what they need to do to comply. But if it's private, totally private property, no zoning permit required. And very similar for municipally sponsored events, we're not requiring them to get zoning permits. They're there for a day, then they're gone. But we already know conclusively that those vendors 100% shall be subject to inspection by the fire marshal. So maybe if it's private, depending on what it is, definitely if it's public. So that distinction is why they're separate there, T and U.
I do see that. And I guess what I was saying is I just wanted to make sure for the group's benefit, especially for, Steve, who hasn't had the benefit of going through this, or maybe some other folks that didn't read it as thoroughly, that there's an important distinction there that does take place, and that it's not going to affect any of the existing businesses that are already doing events there, and the food trucks that are already.
Makes sense.
Yeah, nothing should change for the Speedway here. I mean, I assume because they are a responsible business that they know what their burden is with the fire marshal, but that burden is theirs and they are responsible for it. And we're just saying we're acknowledging it.
They're the ones that have to come up with the liability for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody got anything else in this section?
I posted to the chat my rewrite of that sentence. Let me know if you are okay with it. You're better with that anyway, T, but
You posted it in the chat?
yeah.
Okay, I have to stop share to see it. Hold on 1 second. Hate the way this shows me chat. Any signage associated with the mobile food vendor shall consist only of removable signs, shall not obstruct traffic. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Let me copy and drop. I like that.
All right, I'll be right back. I got to step away for 1 second.
Yeah, no worries. All right, so where was I? There we go. Let's just drop that right here. Okay, Ray, what you got?
I just want to go on to something what Ryan was saying. The Speedway wouldn't be affected anyway because there'd be like a non-conforming piece because they've already been doing it for so many years anyway. So this wouldn't, enclose on them anyway.
Yes, an excellent point, Ray. Thank you. So I guess the only question I just want to ask a little bit more explicitly is, are we comfortable with the way we've separated out how the permissions could work in the various districts? Simple permit in Downtown Mill Rehabilitation District, Thompson Corridor Development District, Business Development District, so that's a Cindy sign off. And then site plan review by commission in rural residential, agricultural, common residential, Thompson Common Village, and Lake districts.
Tongue twister. Is everybody okay with what Tara just said?
I think that's good, Tira.
Okay.
I like it.
All right. Unless anybody has anything else they want to go over here, I'm going to drop a comment that this section is all set. Okay, so now here I think is the only place where you may still want to make some choices as to whether you want to move forward with it in this year, whether you want to punt into another year, if you like it the way it is, if you want to make some changes. I feel like the last time we discussed it, you guys were pretty comfortable with it, and I think it's decent, but I will not be offended if you guys think it needs more work. So I will read it through, and then again, for those following along on the screen, you'll see that we've got content in red and content in green. The content in green is content that I think you've more or less agreed to thus far. The contents in red are whatever flowed out of the last meeting we discussed this, where these were suggestions that were added that I do not believe you've had the opportunity to fully discuss yet. And again, as with the others, I'll read the whole thing through and then we'll discuss. And then depending on what you decide to do here, we'll go back and look at definitions. Okay. 275-14.11, junk dealers and junk yards. 1. In the town of Thompson, new junk dealers and junk yards are only allowed in the business development district under the special permit level of review. 2. Permit approval for a new operator of an existing non-conforming junk dealer or junkyard facility, regardless of the district in which the existing facility is located, shall be under the site plan review by commission level of review. The purpose of such review is to reduce the extent of the nonconformity as the use continues to the greatest extent practicable. 3. For the purposes of these regulations, the following provisions shall apply equally to applicants for junk dealers or junk yards unless otherwise stated. 4. An applicant for a junk dealer or junkyard shall be required to have any and all applicable permits from the state of Connecticut and NDDH for the proposed use prior to initiating the application. 5. The applicant shall include a description of the proposed materials to be stored and or sorted on site, for example, scrap metals, glass, paper, etc. 6. Waste oil, batteries, antifreeze, and any material defined as hazardous waste by 40 CFR Part 261 Subpart C are prohibited and shall not be stored, sorted, or otherwise processed at any junk dealer or junkyard in the town of Thompson. 7. Used electronics shall be stored within an impermeable container which shall be covered and locked when not in use. 8. All vehicles containing materials for storage, sorting at the junk dealer or junkyard shall be covered when entering or exiting the site. The commission may limit hours of operation or hours when materials may enter or exit the site to minimize impacts on abutting uses. 9. The materials handled at the junk dealer or junkyard shall not be stored or sorted in direct contact with the soil. Sorting may take place on a bituminous or concrete pad. Storage shall be in enclosed trailers, dumpsters, or roll-off containers. All containers shall be covered when not in use. The commission may require additional environmental protection measures to prevent runoff or contamination. 10. The location of any trailers, dumpsters, or roll-off containers shall be shown on the site plan. Roll-off containers shall be placed on a bituminous or concrete pad. And 11. Buffer requirements for non-commercial uses. When a proposed junkyard abuts a non-commercial use, for example, residential or agricultural, the commission shall impose the additional 50-foot buffer area described in Chapter 275, Section 2.3E. I shall now entertain comments. Go ahead, Ray.
I think there should be something on here where wetland should have to look at the any place that somebody wants to open this up, because even where and I know the guy does decent work there, the dumpster guy there. There's a lot of wetlands on that. There's a river that runs right through the property line of that property, and I think before any place can receive a permit, it should have to also be looked at by wetlands.
Well, a special permit application would automatically trigger that, but I think it's worth stating it explicitly as well. So let's just put that right in provision number 1.
Just not worth butting heads over without having something that, describes it.
Yeah, 100%. Wetlands approval. Wetlands review. Okay, so now number 1, with that in mind, I have in the town of Thompson, new junk dealers and junkyards are only allowed in the business development district under the special permit level of review. Wetlands review shall also be required and is triggered by the filing of the special permit application.
Okay, another question, the nonconformity. How many people do we know that are actually doing this in town now that's going to have a nonconforming lot?
Well, I don't know that we know for certain, but we do know that there are some.
Right.
So this, I will tell you, of all of the provisions that I've included, is the one that I think is a little sketchiest. And you'll see I even have a little sidebar note that if you like the intent and content of this, I need to really run this by Rich before you vote on it, because I do myself question whether we can compel. Well, we can't compel an existing ongoing user, but if somebody comes in and wants to take over a business on an existing property, I believe we can make them come in for review.
Yep, we already did.
Well, we did with the Bates Auto, but Bates Auto is a salvage yard. It's not covered by this.
Well,
This is for haulers.
oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
no, I knew what you were getting at, JBL, but it is actually different.
Right.
So, if you guys like this, I will advance it. And while we're in that locked draft phase, I will make sure through Rich that this is actually kosher. I think it is.
Okay, Tara. I'm good with that, but you're gonna ask the council for that to give us, how to handle it going forward.
Yes.
Correct? Okay.
Yes.
Now, I want to bring to your attention, and it's number 4. The applicant for a junk dealer or junkyard shall be required to have any and all applicable permits from the state of Connecticut. What we need to put there between state of Connecticut and would be in parentheses the deep, because it all depends on the condition after what wetlands deep can get involved depending on what's going on.
So,
go ahead.
So that's covered by referencing the state of Connecticut. DEEP is the state of Connecticut. They are the applicable agency there.
All right, but I was just, if you put those 3 or 4 letters in, then everybody understand that that's DEP as well, which is state. I'm just saying.
Okay. Yeah, that's okay. So let's try this. E G DEP.
They see the words, then they won't get too crazy. Oh, okay. Everything's being covered.
Yeah, okay. B, you've had your hand up for a bit, and then Dave, I see.
Can I share my screen?
Yes, but we can't do it simultaneously, so I have to give you permission. Oh, yeah, you're good. You're good.
Am I showing the map?
Yeah, it's coming up now. It's up.
So we are talking about the business development district, the purple.
Correct.
So let's just zoom in right here. Lowell Davis Road.
That's next to 395 in Lowell Davis Road. Brian.
Yeah.
Right, and that zoning predates our rezone. That was previously zoned industrial, I don't know, going back to whenever, at least the early 2000s.
So
earlier than that,
Thompson.
Sarah.
So all the way down this road, I can open up a junkyard on a scenic road.
Because that is right. That is, I think Tara should know this too. Is that area was set up to be an industrial area because of Johnson Corrugated. If you were to go towards uphill, I call it. Yeah, keep going. If you can small it up.
Just answer my question. Lowell Davis Road is a scenic road. Now I understand.
No, that's not scenic road right there. It stops on the other side of 395.
Yeah, over here.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is why that is one of the things you guys have to consider. So essentially, you guys had two options when considering whether to allow this as a use. And it was to prohibit it everywhere or allow it in this one district, which was the only district I think anybody thought was appropriate. And I think most people probably have this section down by Reardon in mind when they think of that. But long before we got here, everything that you see in purple was industrially zoned. So
Good. That goes back.
those choices were made by people.
I guess
before
what I'm
us.
asking is everyone on this call where you see purple, you're okay with having a junkyard? Seems quite large, I guess is my point.
I think most of those parcels are occupied, not all of them. But again, this was the section that the town chose to carve out for industrial uses. Industrial uses, long before any of us were involved.
That you're right.
I realize that. I'm just asking this group, are you okay with the purple being a junkyard?
No.
No, you're right, Brian. We can put it in that even because that district there, the purple you see to the right, going towards the Speedway area, that's what, West Thompson Road.
Yeah, all of this, right?
All right, in that there was all put in back. I think I remember my father telling me, because they did that when it used to be called Route 52. Then the state changed it to 395. They were supposed to put in on and off ramp there, because then the town of Thompson figured that by doing that they could get commercial or industrial in that whole area. That's one of the biggest areas that they figured they could, because it's right there. And I remember my father telling me all of that when I said, "Hey, Dad," and he says that's what it was originally designed for. Plus, you got Route 193 right there, which goes right into Webster. So you had the access to Webster coming out of Webster or going to Webster from there. Because Johnson Corrugated, there's a light. Let me see.
Right.
No, Johnson Corrugated.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's right. You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
either that one or the one next to it.
That's one of these two.
Yeah, it's one of those. I think it's the second one. But the thing is, that's what it was. Is with Johnson Corrugated, there was supposed to be an entrance going in there, to take care of that whole area right up to Lowell Davis Road. But that was done back in, I'm gonna say, the 50s.
I'm just gonna say, like,
So,
again,
Brian,
yeah, good, Dave.
I agree with you. My hand's still up here. This wasn't why I raised my hand, but Brian, I agree with you. I think we should limit it to where there's no well water, right? That's all well water up there.
That's all well.
So
It's all
I
well
think that's
water
the
up there
defining-
too. It's all well water.
Yeah,
down
So
there
this
too.
is, so yeah.
That's Reardon Road.
Yes.
And while
So this is why I was saying, Brian, and to your point, right? This is why I was saying this is the one section in these proposed amendments that I think, if anything, well, that you have more to talk about, perhaps. You might not want to advance at this time. You might want to consider. I can tell you that when the topic first came up, to go way back to this, the only request that I had was actually from wetlands to define junkyards. But once you're in defining them, then you've got what's the context? And so at that time, I said to this commission, so if we're defining it, you have two choices. You're defining it so you can totally prohibit it, or you're defining it so you can find a place where you can allow it, right? I fully expected that this commission was going to say they wanted to fully prohibit it. But the consensus at the beginning was that it was reasonable to allow it as a use. And I think most people were probably thinking about the Reardon Road section. But if it's allowable in the Reardon Road section, de facto, it would also be allowed in that other section because they are both the same. No sewer, no public water access. These are well water areas. The only areas where you've got sewer are from the DMRD south, right? The brown into the pink. And the only places where you've got water are from the DMRD north, the brown into the pink and the orange common residential district. That's it. That's your only public utility district.
if I may, Tara.
Yeah, go ahead, JBL.
My suggestion and the way I feel about it, it makes sense. I believe maybe we should come to a consensus on this. And yes, Reardon Road is going to be like that industrial park that's being done, when they get done with the blasting and everything else. We've got a couple good businesses that are going to go in there, especially the guy that's cutting, that stone guy there, the Hobish, whatever his name, the company is. He wants to put in 3-4 more of those machines. But yeah, I would love to not see a junkyard there. We already got one place, couple places, but Bates, they've done a very good job with it, has worked with the DEP. I am okay with that there. But going in those other places, I'd rather see regular commercial, light industrial or whatever going in there in those two areas that Brian brought up, the purple. That's
Dave,
fine.
Dave, you had your hand up for a while, and then I see Ray.
Yeah, Tira, you still got the map up, but I think I forgot where exactly it should be put. But
you can share your screen again.
no, yeah, it was the one John was talking about. So number 4, any and all applicable permits and licenses from the state of Connecticut. So to be a junkyard, you have various actual licenses that you have to get. So I think we call that out.
Yep.
If we keep the section, but it needs to be in there.
Yeah, and again, I will totally not be offended if you guys want to punt on this. You guys took me by surprise when you wanted to allow the use in the first place. So I am happy if you guys want to work on this more and take it out for this review. Ray, I see your hand up.
Go ahead. I'll wait.
Well, I think Bates keeps getting brought up. That's not a junkyard. That's an auto recycling area.
Yeah,
Correct.
But it's also And trust me, I'm probably one of the strongest proponents on doing what you can want to do on your own land. But to open up, now thinking back more on this, somebody opening up something that close to people's houses that are already there, I think we keep the people with the non-conforming lots that are already doing stuff on their property and not allow anybody else to open up, because with our reevaluations, people's taxes went through the roof. Somebody puts one of these things on the side of somebody's house, it's going to drop their taxes, and they're still going to be paying more taxes on after their property taxes have been dropped because of something that was put in on the side of them. So my opinion would be to either, like Tara says, put it off. But I'd rather see it. Let the people with the non-conforming lots that are already doing it, let them continue and not open up an avenue to have any more in the town.
They're pretty much becoming, Tara, the so-called junkyards and all of that stuff are pretty much becoming obsolete because of the words used. But again, I'd rather see small industrial or commercial businesses than that, because they can go to now everything you want to buy, parts and everything now, junk parts, whatever you want, everybody's buying it online. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to go to a place and strip the parts or do this and do that like they used to back in the day. Today, it's pretty much obsolete, in my opinion. I mean, from what I've lived through with all of this stuff.
I think, to echo what John and Ray and Brian and everyone are really smartly saying, is that we have to actually be more involved on the planning side as well. And in order to have a plan for real commercial businesses in that area, having a junk dealer yard is not going to bring in business. It's not going to help the town. It's not going to bring in a bunch of revenues. It's just another low IQ idea, that we don't want to be known as that kind of place, especially not in an area that's strategic with a rail there. I mean, if you were on a P&Z in another town and they looked at you and you were talking about putting a junkyard in next to the railroad, people would call you stupid, because you would be. So yes, I have a very strong opinion about that. And you can't waste valuable strategic land, because that's what the planning and zoning is. You have to be strategic about it. And
all right. So what I'm hearing in this conversation, what I'm hearing in this conversation is that the opinion has changed on whether you want to make this an allowable use, which is totally fine with me and would be more consistent with what I thought you would have wanted in the first place. Now, the question I would say is, and where you want to come to some, B, do you no longer have a question? Because I was going to call on you, Dave, and Jane in order in a second.
Yeah, I'm good. It sounds like we're tabling this, so I'm good.
Yeah, so the question that I would pose, based on this conversation, which indicates that your opinions have changed, is whether you want to lean into that hard and prohibit it, or peel this out and consider it as an allowable use at greater length later. So before I go around the horn and ask for a consensus, I see Dave and I see Jane. Go ahead, Dave.
So Tara, my comment is, I consider this guy down the end of Port Plain a junk dealer that we're left with. So I think we need to be, I agree we table it, but I think that we need to be strategic in the definition, as well as what we write in these regulations to prevent that from happening again, because they could fall into that, a junk dealer. Again, that's the definition. If you're defining it as auto, then that's fine. But if we're defining it as just a junk dealer, I think, what he's got down there stored outside is junk and
Right.
it needs to be managed. So that's my input.
Right. And I think the Porter Plain issue is part of the reason why this came up,
Correct.
right? Because we have this knucklehead out here who was obviously not going to listen to anybody's anything, but just kept insisting to Cindy that because there was a business previously in the space that he's inhabiting, that therefore any business is somehow fair game. Now, that is not correct. There's no interpretation of any regulations that makes that correct, but it has caused a headache for not just Cindy, but for all of us. So, from the initial request to define it so we could prohibit it, I was just following you guys' lead on let's find a way to make it possible for small business owners to be small haulers. And I think that was also in response to some other sort of known nonconformings. I have no problem at all, again, either tabling or, again, leaning in hard to prohibit, but that decision as to which direction you want to go has to come from you guys. Jane, you're next.
Okay. Listening to everybody, and I agree with what everybody has said. My criteria when looking at things that we can allow to come into our community is actually how much is it going to benefit the community, the citizens, the homeowners. Lowell Davis Road, yeah, people think that would be a great spot for it. I don't believe I'm going to say this, but I don't think junkyards are something that Thompson needs. I would rather see a much more viable business come in that is going to actually benefit the town on whatever level you want to look at, whether it's the tax bases or enhancing something. But if we allow junk dealers to come in, like what happened up at Porter Plain, I think we are actually looking at making ourselves some more headaches, which I am not in favor of.
Brian, you're next, and then I'll go around the horn and we'll see how we'll attack the rest of this.
Good.
Just need some clarity. So the person that's operating as a junk dealer, at least as Dave mentioned, was there a previous business there? I'm not familiar with that. And
The Porter Plain Road, that's the one that was Monte Bianco, right? Corner of Porter Plain.
that
Yeah,
one.
it was
Okay.
it was a restaurant, not not a thrift store, junk store. It was a restaurant. And at one time, I think there was a store there also way back.
Go to the market.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it now. Yeah, thank you for that, Jane. So, there are violations. Let me finish. So there are violations of the regulations to begin with. They were never prohibited. They were always prohibited.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Those people are
Like
bad actors. So we refer to them because we recognize it as a problem. But I think the reason that the commission went in the direction of having me develop the regulations is because we were also looking at Chris Gracia, some of the guys who do clean outs, the guys who are, and even Chris Gracia is not a great example because I think he's slightly different than what these are. But guys who do clean outs, there's plenty of people who do clean outs as small haulers. Where do we allow them to have their operation? So I think that's how we got to this point where, I looked into it and tried to find some good examples for you.
Yeah.
I thought all along you guys were going to want it prohibited.
I think we don't need to say it's explicitly prohibited. I think we can just leave it out of the regulations that makes it prohibited anyway, and we can bring it back up in the future. Because I think if we're going to deal with those purple areas, then we need to have much more restrictions on how it's set up and how it works, or so on and so forth. So.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to stop share for a minute so I can see you guys in the participants bar. And I'm going to go around the horn, and your binary choice is explicitly prohibit or just essentially let this ride, in which case it is already de facto prohibited by means of not being permitted. And then an applicant like a Gracia would have the opportunity to, and this is where I think you get into a little gray area, would have the opportunity to propose a special permit use under that safety valve language, but by not by not describing the specific conditions under which you might allow it, it's wide discretion for you guys and could be hard for you in the future. So again, explicitly prohibit or let it ride. And I'm just gonna go around the horn here. JBL?
Well, prohibited, yes. And the reason I'm saying this is to give an example, especially the purple area we have on Reardon Road and the other, but the Reardon Road one, we have a developer that's coming in to put in a nice thing just down the road, right on the corner. Now, if I was to get one of those condos, you really think I want a junkyard or whatever? And I've been in the business. No, because I want to see that area developed into a nice industrial park, or so to speak. That's why I feel that we should just almost eliminate all because of Port of Plain.
Explicitly prohibited is your
Yes.
choice.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Brian Santos.
I'll roll with that. Explicitly prohibited.
Okay. Daniel Bennett.
Yeah, I agree. Prohibited.
Okay. Jane?
Prohibit.
Let's see, who do I not have yet? Dave?
I'm not in favor of prohibiting. I think it needs more definition. I think we need to work on it, not at this time, but in the future. So,
Okay. Who else did I not get? Ryan?
Prohibit it. I agree with Brian and JBL.
All right. Ray? You're on mute, Ray. I'll come back to Ray. Steve?
I would vote to prohibit.
Okay. Ray, are you still there? All right, something probably pulled him away. Regardless, even if he sort of is on the let it ride side, you know, if we're looking that is the consensus, it looks like explicitly prohibit, which brings us back to where I thought we were going to be at the beginning of this exercise. So let me tell you how that would work with this. That would, oops. Let me move this window. All right. That means I would take all of this proposed 275-1411 out. And now we'll go back to the definitions. I would retain these two definitions for junk dealer and junkyard. And instead of here, where in business development district, we describe it as a special permit use, like all the rest, it's a specific use prohibited. So there's no ambiguity that no further use for that will be permitted in the town of Thompson. So I don't know if this is the question you're going to have, Ray, but I'll let you get to your hand up in a second. So if there's an existing non-conforming, right, that's an existing non-conforming, they may proceed. That's what existing non-conforming means, but no new business uses for junk dealers, junkyards in any district in Thompson would be allowed. So Ray had his hand up and then Brian. Although you put your hand down, Ray, so I don't know if that means you're all set. I wonder if he's having trouble with his sound. Let me stop share for a second.
But this, Tara, this is all going on, even though we're gonna be taking it out, but we're not gonna throw it in the round file. We're just gonna say down the road, but it's still gonna be a touchy situation anyway, going forward.
Well, if we're explicitly prohibiting it, then that is what moves forward.
Okay,
If you're just letting it ride, which is what Santos had suggested earlier, where it is de facto a non-allowed use, but you have, because of your safety valve language, the ability to consider an application at any time, that's why it's the two options. Either you are taking a stand now, right, which is different than the consensus you had a few months ago, and saying no further, no new such enterprises, or you're allowing the structure of the way zoning works to sort of box it out, but give you the ability to consider it. The flaw with that is if you do it that way, there's no articulated set of standards to which you could compare an application, and you'd be flying by the seat of your pants anytime such a thing would be coming up, right? That's why I think you landed in wanting to consider how it would be allowed. But this is a change from the way you've discussed it previously. And it very clearly in this conversation indicates to me that you want to hard prohibit. Santos, go ahead.
I just wanted to make it known that every year you can bring this back up. We can talk about it again. It's not like it's off the table.
That's true. That's true. It's not with prejudice.
Yeah.
It's just specifically articulated at this time going forward. It's a prohibited use. So we'll define it and we'll prohibit it.
Yep.
Yes?
That's the consensus, correct? What did you get? 6, 1, and 1?
6, 1, and then Ray wasn't able to come off mute, I think. Oh, now there he is. Go ahead, Ray.
He's having problems with his mic.
Yeah, he must be.
Can I just ask a dumb question?
There is no dumb question.
So,
I don't know, JBL. I've heard some dumb questions in my life.
there seems to be some, like, I don't want to use the wrong word here, but I'll just say protecting of existing junk dealer, junkyard locations, in using this word or phrase, existing lot or non-conforming lot, and allowing them to continue. What's up with that? Like, that doesn't even make any sense.
So there are businesses that will have been legally constituted either because they've applied for home ox or they've been operating and they haven't been bad actors and they're small business people and we generally or in some cases, although this is increasingly not the case because you've had zoning now for over 50 years, there are cases where it predates zoning. Right. So that's what you end up with your existing non-conforming uses. And I think one of the themes that comes up frequently in your meetings is there is a real reluctance and an understandable reluctance on the part of this commission to disrupt people who have been making a livelihood. Right. And I would generally agree with that. You don't want to disrupt people who are making livelihoods who are non-disruptive.
All right, you can end it there, T. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Ray put his hand back up. He can try to use his mic one more time.
I know, because I want to hear what he has to say. We got nothing, Ray. If you're talking, your mic is on and we're not hearing you.
That's so frustrating.
I know, I know. And I'm quite certain that Ray actually has valuable things to say, which is
No,
okay.
you're giving him a lot of credit. Maybe not. So no, I'm only kidding.
Oh, don't be mean. He can't
I'm just
defend
picking.
himself.
I know. Now I'm picking on him because he can't defend himself. All right, continue.
All right. All right. I'm going to go back to the share and I'm going to tell you where I think we are. And you guys tell me if you agree. Definitions of junk dealer and junkyard are in. These are pretty much taken exactly from state statute. I didn't add anything here except this for the purposes of these regulations, which we came up with as a group. Mobile food vendors definition is in. On commercial passive storage, you guys had previously agreed to add this one sentence. A commercial passive storage facility may include an office if that office is not open to the general public. I don't think that was controversial. Under recommended table changes to tables of uses, all of them, or junkyard junk dealer, are going to read prohibited. Earth, sand, and gravel extraction and removal. We were all good with that earlier in the night. Mobile food vendors, we were all good with that earlier in the night. Junk dealers and junkyards, it's out completely. And to your point, Brian, you can always revisit it in a future iteration if it seems practical to allow the use. I do not expect that you'll want to do that, but maybe you will, right? Because it's not with prejudice. So this just all goes away. I'm going to just put it in strike through. Blue. Yes? Do we all agree?
I'm
As far
good.
as I'm concerned, yeah.
I'm good.
Okay, I'll just for the sake of clarity, go around the horn one more time to make sure we're all in agreement. JBL, you said yes?
Yep.
Jane?
Yes.
Santos?
Yep, I'm good.
Dan?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Dave?
I'm just voting what I did before, right? Yeah, same as I was. I didn't change.
Well, before you wanted to let that last piece ride, but understanding that we've changed that, right? So now the consensus is that we're prohibiting the use but keeping the definitions. That's the only change that we've made.
Yep, I agree.
Okay. Let's see, who did I not get?
Right.
Ray and Steve.
Yes.
That was Steve. And
Yep.
again, Ray's mic is on, but I think he's trying to speak and we can't hear him. Ray, if you were going to say yes, put your hand up. How's that? Perfect. Okay, so that is universally agreed to. All right, so now I've got my marching orders to refine this draft. I'll send it out tomorrow. And again, this is mostly for Steve's benefit because this is a new process for him, but a little bit for Dan's as well. So based on the conversation tonight, I will create essentially the final draft of this document to submit to the commission to accept for public hearing at your January meeting. At that point, I will publish for the public's review a copy of that draft, and no changes will be made in the interim month, although I will receive any comments that I get and hold them for the actual public hearing. In that same time frame, I will push that out to council. Now, with the changes that we just made, none of this is now controversial, but I'll just get Rich's blessing on it. And then in the February meeting, you would actually have your public hearing, receive any public comment at the meeting, make any last minute changes that you want to, although they have to be specific, right? You can't make general changes. They've got to be specific language changes.
That's
If you
correct.
want to make any at that point, and usually you don't, but it is possible. You would vote on it at your February meeting, and it would go into effect at the same time as the cannabis moratorium, which we gave a date of March 20th or 26th or whatever it was, to make it a 1 year. So even though you're considering the two items separately, the extension of the moratorium and the amendments to the zoning regulations, they will be in effect at the same time. Make sense?
Yes.
Well done. We
Okay.
accomplished something tonight. Wow.
And we didn't use the whole 2 hours.
There you go.
So just anything else from anybody else before we wrap this, and then JBL, you can call the meeting for the night.
Well, before I call the meeting, if there's anybody here tonight that wants to say something else or bring up something before we end this, it's ended. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
I wanted to ask about a couple things here that I have on my mind. So I was thinking that what we might do is, sticking with the theme of the junkyards and the prohibiting. I'm starting to get the sense that we're starting to overbuild storage capacity in town, and we have another project now that wants to go in and do this. It seems like we're becoming a little bit too focused on storage, and I think that might be something that we could put into the regulations, that maybe after this one we stop that. It seems like it's becoming a little excessive in terms of the capacity, and it's probably not great for existing businesses. So as someone who utilizes, let's say, storage in town, I think that it's important that we also look out for the businesses that we do have, especially ones that put up a lot of their own capital and put forth nice projects. So I think we're going to be at a massive overcapacity for storage in the near term. And I understand there's a lot of excellent potential developments coming in with the 2 mill projects. And I'm only talking about the 2 mill projects. But beyond that, it seems like something that we should strongly consider and maybe get a consensus for. The other things that I'm sure, if you've been watching the news at all in Connecticut, you're aware that there's been Trump has basically put in a stoppage on some wind projects that are getting some of our people who are in the legislature in Connecticut, to be politically correct, getting them up in arms. And there's countless articles and videos and things along those lines. And as someone who's been in the renewable energy space for a really long time now, at least 10 years, I can tell you that the wind projects are the lowest economic, biggest money losers, and they don't just lose millions, they actually lose billions of dollars. They're the only industry that I've ever seen that's actually managed to lose more money than airlines, and that's really hard to do. And even worse, they're doing it on the backs of a lot of public funding, and they're essentially just becoming a failed industry. And a lot of the public companies are running for the exits, and I don't want to see that in Thompson either. I don't think that anybody that would even propose that should be allowed to even propose wind in Thompson. It may be really far-fetched, and it's probably not something that's going to happen, and I don't anticipate it's going to happen. But we have enough things going on where I think that we're a town a little bit divided on solar. I happen to think solar is great in some places and horrible on farmland, but everybody has pretty strong opinions about that either way. So I don't want to touch the other areas, and we should have a lot of great renewable energy in town. Biofuels is another example, but I think that we should put a kibosh on storage, wind, and maybe open up some other topics that would be of interest to people while we're all together and we have a little bit of time. The other thing that I guess I wanted to go over briefly is I've been doing a fair amount of work on the House bill, as I've mentioned in a few other meetings, 8002. And there's going to be an educational forum coming up on that, which, some folks are going to attend, I guess, myself included. And I think that it's important that we maybe spend a few minutes just taking time to understand that and seeing what people's opinions are. I've put together a series of articles. I've listened to a handful of videos, and this is becoming a real hotbed topic in the other side of the state, mainly in Fairfield, who actually has a moratorium on 830G. And it's something that, it really wasn't designed with places like Thompson in mind. So I think we have to be very mindful of that. So what's my solution, or what's my conclusion on all this? Well, I saw an email that went out from Tira that talked about some things that we had to do that were kind of mandated. And I guess that after reading the 100th article about many, many issues with this bill, having one of our leaders of Connecticut, Senator Gordon, coming in and speaking to us in person and taking his time from the front line, I don't think that we should be putting anything into our regulations that is supportive of that bill currently, until we've had a chance to really discuss it at length.
Hey, Brian,
talk about it. Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
The 802 stuff, I don't think anyone's proposing anything. It's not even part of what we just talked about tonight, making modifications to the regulations. So I think we can put that on the board for this coming
I know
year.
what he's talking about, Brian, because I did in fact refer to two changes which, as the bill, which is now signed into law, has passed, will be required of the town of Thompson to be compliant. They're very small. They're very small. There are plenty of opt-in provisions, but there are two things. But as I indicated in that email to you last time, even though it's obvious what those changes are, and they're very simple, because you guys have not had the opportunity to discuss it meaningfully, I think you are fine punting into after July 1, which is when at least one of those things takes effect.
Yeah, and Tara, thank you for addressing that. That's exactly what I was saying, because I saw your email, and I didn't want this to be something that was kind of rushed at the last minute and maybe the last subcommittee before we push our prior regs through.
No.
And and that was really my intention, was to say, let's, at least at minimum.
We'll review that in July when this comes back up again. And Ryan, I appreciate your background.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's good.
Let's pause until the July stuff.
Okay.
We have.
In the short term, I can at least partially address a couple of the things that you raised, Ryan. The one about storage, right? Right now, self-storage is an allowable use. When you have things that you regulate as allowable uses, they're allowable uses. So you may consider making that a prohibited use going forward, but it's equal for everyone, right? Everybody either has access to it or doesn't have access to it if they submit a legal application. You can't put quotas or throttle down numbers. It's not like when the state does it with, for example, cannabis licensing, right? It's your regulations are your regulations. An application is legal or it is not legal.
Yeah, that's right. I was suggesting going forward that with the ones that we have, that we do that, just like we're talking about with the junk dealers.
Yeah. So if you want to bring that up when we come back to this, probably in July is usually about when we start this up again, we can discuss any of those topics. The wind farm thing, that's not going to be a local zoning issue. That's going to be a Connecticut Siting Council issue. That is never going to be something that we're going to be able to have our fingers on the control of. We don't with cell towers. We don't with solar over 1 megawatt. That stuff goes straight to the Siting Council. But to your other point, the chances that anybody's proposing wind farming in Thompson, I think, are
just so Ryan knows, I want to say 6 years ago, somebody proposed I won't say a wind farm, but let's just say a wind turbine. A singular turbine. And then they did all the math calculations, and it was a losing proposition, so they didn't move forward with it.
And, and you hit the nail on the head. Where's the highest point in the town of Thompson right now?
Yeah. So the likelihood a wind farm to Thompson is,
Never happened.
I'm going to say 0% unless something
Correct.
changed environmentally.
Correct.
And to be clear, Tira, I was thinking about a smaller one too. So you said under 1 megawatt for solar, which I definitely understand, and we went through a lot on that with the proposal on Pompeo. But I do understand that. I was thinking of a smaller one if someone did come in and propose it. I'm trying to play what if in the what if scenario, and that's where I was going with it.
Okie dokie. Anybody have anything else?
Yes, I will finish the evening out for you, Tara. I would like to thank all the members that stood in tonight. This is the biggest we ever had in a while. And maybe most of you already know. If not, Randy Blackmer resigned from the planning and zoning as of January 1st. That's all been taken care of, and it'll be in our next month's meeting, to be read in, and then we have to act on that. And the other thing I wanted to say is I'm glad we did the plaques forum, and with John Rice and with his 50 years, he dedicated 50 years of his life to this town on the planning and zoning. And I think that's very remarkable. None of us will ever see that, but kudos to him. And I guess I will just close. If there's anything else that has to be said, if not, I'll close this meeting out. And it's what time?
8:27. And yeah, Blackie's going to be missed for sure.
Yes.
I mean, what a great guy and thoughtful in this process always.
Well, he brought a lot to the table. Plus, he was on the Ag Commission and a lot of other things. I mean, he was a pillar to this town from my point of view as well, since I've known him pretty much all my life. But yes, he's going to be sorely missed and everything. And with him gone, now this new group, new people, Dan and Steve, that are on the commission now and everything, we need to step up to the plate, and let's try to make this planning and zoning even better going forward with everybody working together. So it's 8:28. Do I hear a motion to adjourn this?
I so motion.
Thank you. Second by Ryan.
Wonderful.
Meeting closed. Tara, thank you very much. And
I should be able to turn this around to you pretty quickly tomorrow. You'll get a new draft probably in the morning.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. If we have to have a subcommittee, just put some dates together so we can, if we had to, we can do it a little bit ahead of time. I know you've got a busy sick. I know you're busy. And a week from Saturday, we're going to be going to Cromwell, correct?
It's on a Thursday morning, but we'll talk about that later.
The 22nd is on a Saturday.
No, it is not. It's on a Thursday morning.
Is it? How did I lose it? What did I lose a couple days here? Oh, well.
I don't know. Anyway, meeting is adjourned, my friend. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.